Happy Monday, YouTube, and welcome back to the Collector's Corner. We are now in part three of our three-part series on how to collect. As always, I'm Chris,
I'm Trey.
and today is all about you've got your item. We talked about how to research and the best ways to whether you're going to flip that item, whether you're going to hold that for an investment. You've done that.
Yep.
Question now is what?
What's next?
Take the money.
What's next?
So, if it is something that you're looking to sell and make money off of, and use that for whatever reason you want to after that. So, what do you do with that money? Me personally, I'm going to talk about the number one thing that I do. I pretty much reinvest it back into what I'm doing, right? So it's almost like I rip these cards and these boxes and things like that so I can hit something to get my money back or make money so I can continue doing what it is that I love. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
what's kind of like your thing with
Yeah,
it?
it
Like, why
goes
do
two
you?
ways, right? So for me, you can take the money and run.
Yeah,
You can reinvest into maybe you want to look into, a different type of collection,
yeah,
go into the stock market. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do.
yeah,
Money's money. If you're winning, you win. So you
yeah.
can take that pocket and just take the gains. Or to your point, you can reinvest it. Now, what does that reinvestment look like? Do you continue to kind of snowball? Do you then take that money and go bigger?
Yeah,
Right. So a lot of times, or do you want to diversify and buy more across a broader spectrum
yeah,
of cards? So
yeah,
like you do this way more than I do. That's
yeah,
kind of your bread and butter. You're flipping things constantly and
yeah.
ripping packs. So when you look at it, do you go for like a broader investment with that, or then do you try to put it into like a larger card that's worth more value?
So what I typically do is, like I enjoy ripping, right? So the thrill of ripping or hitting that card the first day it comes out. So what I do is look at basically what's coming out on the next couple months, next year, whatever it is, and I look at whatever that product is that I'm looking to heavily invest in, right? So like, let's say the top's chrome with Cooper Flag in it. I know I'm going to be chasing Cooper Flag, and I know his autos are going to sell for good money because he's a stud basketball player. Not to mention he's a Dookie.
Is
So,
it Dookie?
I always, appreciate that. But I'm looking at the profit margin. So what is my potential profit margin of what I can get out of this product or getting that hit,
Yeah.
and how much does that box cost? Right. So when you talk about reinvesting, if a box is $900 and I just made $900 off of that card that I sold, it doesn't make sense to jump back in on a product like that.
Right.
But let's say this product is $150 and I can get around 6 or 7 boxes of it. To me, that's what makes more sense for me.
Yeah, and what's great about the way that you do it is you're not emotionally invested in any of this, right?
Correct.
So what'll happen is some people you'll hit a card and then all of a sudden whether you think you can squeeze a little bit more out of it so
Yeah.
you just want to hold on to it longer because
Yeah.
you're like, well, what if this happens next season?
Yeah.
What if all of a sudden they win a championship in that card? So you can spin your wheels on what ifs all day long and just
Well,
sitting on stuff, and then the bubble could burst and you've missed your window. You're not emotionally, invested in it, which is a great way to do it because you can turn and burn, and you're
correct.
just looking at money made as money
Yeah.
earned,
Yeah.
and you're not worried about, okay, did I leave money on the table or not?
Yeah.
Now, is your strategy, particularly for cards, will you go back into wax with it, or will you go buy singles, or how do you do that?
So here recently, like I'm not gonna say recently, just the whole time I've been doing it, I've usually been going back into buying sealed wax and ripping it. But I've had conversations amongst some, not just you, but other people in the industry, and I think the play, like if I really wanted to maximize what I want to do with those profit margins, I think the maximizer is buying that card single, looking at it, it's real clean,
Mhm.
get that graded, and then flip that way.
Yeah.
When you do it that way, I think you definitely increase your profit margins. But like I said, I have to understand who I am and I enjoy ripping. So if you're somebody who enjoys getting the latest and greatest product, ripping it and see what's in it, then that's why I put my profit margins back in that way. But if I wanted to do it the way that made the most sense,
Mhm.
is definitely buying that single that's probably $200, but a PSA 10 sells for 1200. And now you're really talking about making some
But you got to
serious money.
enjoy what you're doing because
Yeah,
that's the
for
thing,
sure.
right? If
For
you want
sure.
longevity in
Yeah.
this, then you got to have fun with what you're doing.
Yeah.
So for you, of just buying the singles and getting them graded and flipping, especially too, you buy a single and you get it graded.
Mhm.
You get the single in hand for a day,
Yeah.
then you ship it out to go get graded. Then you're
Yeah.
waiting 60, 90 days for it to come back. It's like you don't get to enjoy.
So I hate that price. It's almost like I'm sending my kid off to school.
Yeah.
You have kids in school, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like I just, you know what I mean? We just started getting that bond and
Right.
enjoying each other. And next thing you know, I'm shipping it off. And
Yeah,
so what does it mean for me to have that card if I don't have that card?
for sure. And so that can carry over to take it outside of the card spectrum. Obviously, we talk about shoes. We're both heavily invested in shoes. For me, that's the same thing, right? what I'll do is I'll get a pair of shoes, but am I going to get that pair of shoes just to sit it in a box in a closet and then turn around and try to make some money off
Yeah,
of it? No, I take the shoes out of the box, I put
yeah,
them on display, and then I wear them.
for sure.
Every single pair of shoes that's lined up here has sat on my foot at one point or another.
Yeah,
And you know what's great about them? Is they still are worth money. So
100%.
even after they've been worn a time or two, you can clean them up and then you can resell
Yeah,
them. I've gotten some enjoyment out of it, but then I've also been able to make some money on the back end
yeah.
by selling them at the right time.
And I mean, it's okay to go through waves of what you do at different times. Like right now, I'm probably entering in a wave, right? Because there's some of these young, talented players that are coming out. And we're going to talk about our list later on of who we think you should invest in or who we would invest in. And they're exciting talent. And I am looking to kind of like start collecting something again, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully it doesn't end the way it ended with
Listen, everybody's got a story. Somebody is sitting on the Daniel Jones collection.
for
Somebody's sitting on the
sure.
Trey Lance
For sure.
collection. You know,
Kellen Mond, you know?
listen, I'm a Ravens fan. I had Ray Rice cards that we all get
Yeah.
burned at one time.
Yeah.
You know, just because you can't control what idiots do when
Yeah.
idiots have money and power and
Yeah.
fame.
So that's why I'm saying it's okay to go through waves because like now the way I would do it is instead of getting caught up into that player getting drafted to my favorite professional sports team, maybe it is jumping in and collecting a Caleb Williams because he's always going to be a USC alum, and
Mhm.
that's my college team, or a Juju Watkins, which is another USC player. So I'm kind of thinking about it a little bit differently and trying to collect like a player I actually like or somebody who came from one of the college teams I like.
Yeah,
Cooper Flag is another one.
for sure. And we say it all the time too. Is like at the end of the day, if you get caught holding something,
Yeah,
make sure that it's something that you like and you enjoy.
yeah,
Because if you don't, then you're just caught holding a bunch of crap. No one
correct.
wants that. So to your point, you know, if nothing ever happens with Caleb,
Yeah,
you're going to be a USC fan
that's
until
it.
you die.
That's it.
So you'll have something that, you know, and listen, what he did in college
Yeah,
isn't going to be replicated anytime soon. So
correct.
you've got that to fall back on. So
Yeah,
I like the way that you look at it. So again, when you get to that point where you're looking to kind of reinvest, there's avenues that you can go, and there's not really one right answer for
yeah,
anyone. You just got to kind of follow your passion and your heart and what makes sense. For some people that just aren't, the thing too is you got to be disciplined to a degree.
yeah,
And so if you're not disciplined and you made profit, then go ahead and take that money. I'll put it this way, right? People go to Vegas and they gamble,
yeah,
right? The smartest way that you can do it is not gamble at all.
yeah,
But if you're going to make sure that you go
for
do that,
sure.
right? You take $200.
Yeah,
You go in as soon as you win 200, you put that money in your pocket, and then all you do is play with the house money. And then when it's gone, it's gone. Or if you can leave with a profit, you leave with a
yeah,
profit. Same thing here.
yeah,
Don't continue to just go down that habit of spending money, because if they do that, go in and start, okay, I made this much money off of this box. Now I'm going to go into more boxes.
mhm,
Your chances of making money on boxes is slim. We've talked
correct.
about it.
And like, I mean, you could get a product hit, right? And if you get a product hit, meaning a one of that top rookie, a gold to 10 of that top rookie, whatever it is, chances of you hitting something else in that product are very slim. So it doesn't make sense to if your goal is just to flip. I'm not talking about the collector. I'm not talking about the person who just wants. I'm talking about the person who wants to flip and continue to enjoy it and not burning money. You just have to, like you said, be smart about what you do. I mean, it doesn't make sense to keep jumping in the same product when you've already got a product hit out of
So one of the avenues we talked about, all right, let's take the chance off the table a
it.
little bit. I mean, there's chance involved in anything. Let's
Yeah,
go to something that's a little bit more, you know, I guess concerted effort to try to maximize your money, and that would be the singles route. We talk
yeah,
about it all the time.
yeah,
So what we're going to do now is kind of break down the big three. We talk about there's obviously multiple sports. I mean, everything. This is no disrespect to soccer fans. This is no disrespect to hockey fans. They're huge sports, but we're just going to talk NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball.
yeah,
Right? You've got 5 players that you're going after now
mhm,
for flipping or in long term.
yeah,
Let's kind of break down that list and your reasonings why.
yeah.
So let's start on the NFL front.
Okay.
And listen, I'm going to be flat out honest with you. People watching this are going to be like, I could have like guessed 90% of your list. Yes, probably.
Probably so. Yeah,
It's going to be a little bit generic,
yeah,
but there's reasons why these players
yeah.
are on this list.
So let's go 1v1, right?
Yeah.
So I'll give one, you give one, and we both tell why we give it. So you said NFL.
We're starting.
So top of my list is Jaden Daniels.
Okay.
And my reason why is because the guy is super hot right now in the sports card world. He just went to an NFC championship. He's a rookie. He's on a rookie deal for 4 more years.
Mhm.
Washington has $80 million of cap space.
Yep.
They just acquired Debo Samuels. Like, it's a lot of things going in his favor to where I feel like he's going to be around for a long time.
I'm with you. And listen, these lists were made separately. He's on my list.
Yep.
So similar reasons. He's hot right now.
Yep.
Every product that if you go on Whatnot, if you go on eBay, you go on any things, you look at top cards that people are chasing right now, and Jaden Daniels is that top
Yep.
of that list.
Yep.
It's the hype around it. And again, this is the time when you can acquire at a little bit lower rate.
Mhm.
Let the preseason come out. He wins 2 or 3 games in the preseason, and all of a sudden you can maximize. Or if you just want to hold a little bit longer, you can do that as well. But similar
Correct.
reasons. Top of my list, and there's no surprise here, but it's Brady.
Goat.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
if you don't have a Brady in your collection and you're collecting NFL, I don't know why.
Yeah.
The best to do it, probably the best that's ever going to do it. I
Yeah.
don't know that anyone's ever going to surpass him. And so if you can get a chance to get your hands on one, that's one that you can just put in the vault and just keep for your grandkids.
Yeah.
And listen, it's not going to be that rocket ship
Correct.
projectile as
Yeah.
far as, but it's going to be that slow, steady.
Yeah.
And
He's going to turn into that vintage guy that people talk about with
Yeah,
football,
right.
like they talk about, Babe Ruth of baseball and Mickey Mantle and all that good stuff. I mean, that's what Brady is going to turn into.
For sure.
So that's a good one. So my next one is to go on to the other side of that is Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
So he's a guy that's currently playing now, which he's the now Brady, right? He's the currently playing Brady. So I think he's going to be around for a while. The Chiefs have showed that it doesn't matter who is on that roster. If you have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, they're going to be all right.
I'm with you. And I had him on my list as well, and it's the same reasons.
Yeah.
He's going to be the closest thing to Brady that's going to get to Brady.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. Next on my list is going to be a player that I personally believe outside of the NFC. Let's just go AFC.
Yeah.
Take Mahomes out of the picture. The
Yeah.
next one to get a ring.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow. I'm not big on the listen. This is no disrespect to Josh Allen. I think he's an amazing player. I just don't see Buffalo getting it done. Same reason.
Yeah.
I'm a diehard Baltimore Ravens fan.
Yeah.
I want Lamar to get a ring
Yeah.
so bad. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I just
I
don't
feel
feel like it's going to happen. I think Joe Burrow, if they can get that defense right as a passer, I think he's the best pure passer that's
Yeah.
in the game right now on the AFC side of things.
Yeah.
And I think he's at a point now where his values are relatively
Yeah.
low or suppressed. I think he's got opportunity.
Yeah. Funny. I mean, I have Burrow on my list too. So, and Burrow's on my list because different reasons. I mean, yes, I feel you on all that, but it leads me to the reason he's on my list is people really forgot about him. Like he's like a forgotten player right now. Like you hear everybody talk about, Lamar Jackson's gonna be in the playoffs every single year, right? That's just what it is. That's what it's been. Patrick Mahomes gonna be there every year. People looking at that shiny new toy in Jaden Daniels. They look at Josh Allen. He just signed that massive contract. People just forgot about Burrow. So that's kind of why Burrow's on my list because I feel like he's nowhere near where he could be value-wise in the hobby, and it's still a good chance to buy on him. So we did what's that? 4?
Yeah,
1, 2, 3, 4.
We've doubled up on a few. So.
Okay, yeah. So I'll give you my last 2 together.
Right.
So Bo Nix is on here, and Michael Penix Jr. is on here too. So
little dark horse.
Yeah, so these are two new guys that people. This is a loaded quarterback class right now. It could fall off and look like 2021 class. Who knows? But Michael Penix Jr. is people rave about him. He's got so many weapons around him. He's in a division to where he could make the playoffs every single year, right? So I think he's going to be one of those guys that if he does what I think he's going to do, he's going to be around for a while.
I like it. My last one here is C.J. Stroud. And
Okay.
the reason being is we saw last season value started to kind of depress on him. I think he's got the chance to win the division every single year.
Yeah.
I think from a talent perspective, I like what I see with him. So when you've got a quarterback that's going to be in the mix to be able to win their division each and every year, to me, I think it's an opportunity where it's not going to hurt you to invest a little bit now.
Yeah.
See what he does this year. If they can make it to the top, back into the playoffs, that sort of scenario, see those values start to creep. And again, it's all about timing when you decide to offload some of those. That's going to be, if you see that there's a trend, they might make it in the playoffs right around playoff time. Out the door.
Get it out. So, and that's the thing with all these. That's why we wanted to give you our list and then tell you why, right? Because our why might be different from your why. You might have, if you're a 49ers fan, you might have Brock Purdy on your list. I'm personally not going to collect Brock Purdy because I feel like I can buy him at any time as a fan.
Yep.
I'm looking to maximize and capitalize with the timing with these players. So that's why they're on our list. So let's go to the next sport, man. Let's do a little round ball, a little basketball. Yeah.
Right. Again, this is going to be one Captain Obvious choices here.
Yeah. So there's a reason why we didn't put NBA. We put basketball, and you're probably going to see why.
So, I mean, obvious, same reason I said Brady on my first one.
Yeah.
If you don't have a Michael Jordan in your collection, I mean, greatest to do it. Now, listen, there's going to be arguments. It depends on baby boomers versus Gen X and Gen Z, and millennials. But for me, it's Jordan. I grew up on Jordan.
For sure.
I want to be like Mike. I want to eat my Wheaties. I want to do all those things. So Jordan's the GOAT. And until somebody surpasses him,
Yep.
it's a must have in the
I agree. And I'm a LeBron fan growing up, and I'll tell you Jordan's a GOAT. So there's no kickback with me on that one. So let me go top of my list, man. Cooper Flag.
Why not?
And I say Cooper Flag because if you look at his stuff right now, he's selling like crazy right now. He's selling higher right now than most of these guys' favorite or girls' basketball
Which
players
is
currently
absurd.
playing. Yeah.
Absurd.
So, and it's only gonna as he goes number one, it's gonna go up. If he gets next player of the year, it's gonna go up. If they win the tournament, it's gonna go up. It's just different levels he has to reach yet that I feel like if you get some Cooper Flag right now and grade it, you could flip it right now, or you could hold some of his autos.
I'm with you. Next choice, another Captain Obvious choice, but it's going to be LeBron, and the reason is because collectors are hot on one of the two, right?
Yeah.
So Jordan for me would be one that I put in and just stash.
Yep.
LeBron for me is one where you've got this base of fans that are just going to die on the hill that he's the greatest ever.
Yep.
Kind of arguable, maybe.
Yeah. Depending on how you want to look at it, what you
grab
want.
some
Yeah.
LeBron, and you have a chance. You've got a willing market to sell those cards to.
Yeah.
And the way that he's playing now, and the way that Luka's helped elevate
Yeah.
his game to where he's kind of resurged with this energy,
Mhm.
I think it's a great time to maybe get something, and you have an opportunity to turn that over.
Yep.
So can you imagine if he wins a ring with Luka?
I know. It's a perfect time to lead into my next one, and it's Luka.
Okay.
So if you chop LeBron's beard down a little bit, you took out some of his athleticism, you gave him less melanin, yeah, he would be Luka Doncic, right? So I think the Lakers have shown with that trade who they want to invest in next.
Yeah.
I mean, they've done it from Jerry West to Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Shaq. Now they have Luka. So
it'll be a passing the torch.
exactly. So that's what Luka would be to me is that next guy up. Yeah.
Okay. I like it. Another obvious choice, but we'll shift over to WNBA. But
Yep.
it's Caitlin Clark, and I mean, there's none hotter. There are some people knocking at the door that are in college right now that are going to push.
Fight on.
One of yours, she's on my list as well.
Yeah.
But for right now, she's it. If you look at what she's done to elevate the game, she's got eyeballs on the game. I don't care what anybody says. They can make it into this race baiting issue. She is the number one player in the WNBA right now. And until somebody comes and knocks her out,
100%.
She's the reason that butts are in seats.
Bro, did you see the new picture of her clapping on the sideline? I love what she's doing, man. So she's basically, instead of her going to the new league that just formed, she got in the lab and put her head down and she's working. She's taking on that Kobe, that Jordan mentality of, if you don't believe I'm the best or going to be the best, let me show you.
You know what they do too, what I think is interesting? I think some players in the WNBA could take more advantage of this when they've got the 3-on-3 basketball and they do the mixed teams.
Yeah.
So you're playing against other highly competitive females, but then you're also on the court with some males getting more physical.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing I think a lot of people just argue with is the physical nature of the women's game.
For sure.
And if you've got somebody that can be physically dominant, now she doesn't need to be. She's a shooter.
Yeah.
But if you get that mentality, I mean, that helps to just elevate the game to the next level.
No, you're right. I mean, Dawn Staley with South Carolina, her girls practice against the intramural men's champion team or something like that throughout the season. And even when they win championships, they give those guys rings as well. So, I mean, it goes to show that, I mean, the more physical you are, it is to an advantage. You get in somebody's head, you beat them down mentally, you'll beat them down physically as well. So that leads me into my next one, Juju on that beat. So I got a little Juju Watkins on here. Chris knows I'm a USC fan. I've been rocking with Juju ever since she was at Sierra Canyon and, followed her there. Heard she was on USC's radar, and she's next. So she's a lot different player than Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark's more of a shooter. So I compare Caitlin more to Steph Curry kind of game.
Right.
I compare Juju to more of a Kobe, LeBron type.
For both of them at the top.
Exactly.
Because the style of game is so different. Right?
Exactly.
Like
exactly.
That's the thing with certain sports, right? Especially in basketball, that positionally, you can or can't compare. Like you can just do stats and points and all those kind of things, but what Shaquille O'Neal was able to do to the game versus a Kobe do to the game versus LeBron, they played three different positions.
For sure.
Right. And so you can have
it's hard to compare, man, when you do that. Yeah.
So that's what's great. So I had Juju down as well. And that's really because the hype beast over here has gotten me on the train.
There you
go.
I
kind of put my eyes on her.
And I had Caitlin on mine too. So just
so my last one here, and we talked about him, is Steph Curry. And so here's the thing with Steph, right? What people don't realize is he's been loyal to one team.
Yeah.
He stayed with one team. he hasn't necessarily bounced around and try to surround himself, although he's had great complementary players on his
Yeah.
team. He's got the same number of rings as LeBron, and
Mhm.
he's played 6 less seasons,
Yeah.
right? And he's the MVP every time he's on the
Yeah.
court playing in those games.
Yeah.
Again, it's kind of an apples to oranges because what he's able to do in his game,
Yeah.
LeBron can't, and what
Correct.
LeBron can do, he can't. But
Correct.
he's an underrated player that I don't think people are putting enough value and stock
Yeah.
into. That I think for me, it's somebody that you may want to hang on to.
Yeah, Curry's definitely. I mean, after seeing that guy in the Olympics, and like I told you, I'm from North Carolina. I grew up playing against Steph. We're around the same age in AAU, but to see what that guy did in the Olympics in Paris this past summer, he just showed that there's nobody in the history of sports that's like that guy.
And now he's dipping his toes in the game. You see, he's being
Yeah.
a GM at Davidson.
Oh yeah, that's huge,
so going
man.
back to his alma mater, Davidson, and
Yeah,
going to be a GM on that team. So
I do feel like when Steph retires, he'll probably have a house in Cali. Don't get me wrong, but
come back.
I think he'll probably come back home. Yeah,
we've seen a lot of players do it. So
yeah.
anybody else on your NBA?
So my last one is Victor. I know he has the shoulder thing going on, blood clot, but I think he's gonna, I think he's gonna beat that. I think he's gonna come back next year. They'll have another top 5 pick. They'll add another talent to that roster, possibly Cooper Flag. I mean, you never know. But I like this. I like what Victor's doing with that international market. We saw the same thing with Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
How just when you get an international superstar,
Takes it to
it's
another level.
different, man. It takes it to a whole different level. So Victor was the last guy that I had on my list.
Yeah, well, and that's what casuals don't realize. And I consider myself, from an NBA perspective, I still consider myself a casual.
Yeah.
So I'm not, NFL is kind of my bread and butter. But Luka Doncic has been playing in the international league since he was like 15, 16
Yeah.
years of age. Like they just do it differently over
Yep.
there. If you look at like Jokic and his brothers, I mean, they're just beasts because they
Yeah.
just play
That's
and they're
it.
banging around with grown men at the age of 16 and stuff. So these international players bring a whole nother, level to the game.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
all right, let's flip over to the diamond. We're in kind of spring training right now.
Yeah.
We're getting ready for the season. Major League Baseball. This is probably an area where you and I may be the least informed.
Especially me. Like, I mean, I grew up watching Jeter when I did watch baseball. But it's just so many prospects and
It's hard to follow.
Yeah.
Listen, this will tell you where I'm at. I'm a diehard Baltimore Orioles fan. If I've got a diehard team,
yeah.
last World Series was 1983.
Yeah.
So
And no, it is not
rough.
because of Jackson Holiday.
It's been
the
rough.
guys
That's right.
Baltimore everything. So
Old school. Yeah, this is old school. Listen, I'll tell a quick story. This is a one-off, but 2 stories, and it'll be quick. So one of the things was really cool is went to the baseball game with my parents at the time it was in Camden Yards. It was
Okay.
old school
Yep.
Orioles Stadium there, and Memorial Stadium is what it was called there in Baltimore. And 7th inning stretch,
Mhm.
Eddie Murray came out, and we were front row. I was a baby. I was about 2 years old. Grabbed me, put him on his shoulders, ran me around the bases.
Yeah, that's
all those kind of
insane.
things, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
However, fast forward several years later, I was born in 77. So at that time, I might have been like, around 1980
Yeah.
in that time frame. They win the series in 83 and then they fall off.
Yeah.
Right. Hadn't won in a long time. So we go to a game and I'm probably now, 12, 13 years old.
Mhm.
We all stand outside. There's a whole big group of people waiting to get autographs from players. But they were playing like crap.
Yeah.
So Eddie Murray gets into his Corvette. He starts to pull away.
Yeah.
My mother, a little firecracker that
Yeah.
she is,
Yeah.
knocks on the window. He rolls down the window. She goes, "As bad as you're playing, you should be lucky that anybody wants your autograph."
Bro, that is
I suggest you get out and
hilarious.
start signing. Man turned off his car, got out of the door, and started signing.
That is hilarious. Your mom is a
So
G.
that's my Baltimore Orioles story. So yeah, it
Dang.
goes way back.
Yeah, that's wild.
So first on your list,
First on my list is vintage.
Is that vintage?
So I didn't want to go, like this player, that player, that player. I think vintage baseball, I've seen more vintage baseball collectors than any other sport vintage.
absolutely.
And there's got to be a reason for that,
They're
right?
diehard too. They will literally sit at a table,
Yep.
sifting through
Yep.
stacks and stacks of cards to try to fill out their collection because
Yep.
they're collecting sets.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And then not to mention, I mean, some of those cards have gotten like destroyed over the years. So I'm pretty sure that that PSA 2 Mickey Mantle is going to sell for way more than your PSA 10 Jackson Holiday.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
All
So
day and the longevity. And I'm with you right there. So I'll lump mine in. I did
Yeah.
vintage as well. I broke it out at Mickey Mantle, obviously.
Yeah.
It's just, one of the most iconic names in the game. And then Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
And they're specific. Now, this is for deeper pockets.
Mhm.
If you've got some pockets and you can spend it, I mean, we're talking $7,000, $8,000 a card here, but
Yeah.
that's 1933 Gaudi, which was a card brand back in the day. But Babe Ruth, if you can have that in a good grade, those are 2 cards that if you sat on from now until the end of time, you're going to make money on those cards because there will never be players like that again.
Yep. That's a good one. And I like how you broke it down too, because like, yeah, I know the big names, but there's some people can rattle off names that I've never
For
even
sure.
heard of. So my number two on the list is Aaron Judge. You know, we've been a Yankees fan and seeing what Aaron Judge has done over the years and became one of those iconic Yankees players. Hopefully, the Yankees can get a championship, you know, at some point in time. So I think Aaron Judge is one of those guys that
Yeah.
is going to turn into a legend for New York sports.
Well, and being a diehard Orioles guy, hated to put him on the list, but
Yeah.
I went Yankees too. But I went Derek Jeter.
Okay.
Just a little bit different reasons. I think
Yeah.
he's face of the franchise. The thing with the New York
The
Yankees is
captain.
they are the absolute. When you talk, every sport has that team.
Yeah.
When you mention, people go Chicago Cubs, some will go old school Giants, but
Mhm.
everybody knows the Yankees.
Yeah.
This thing about the Yankees too. This is how crazy it is in sports. So one of the statistics I read is the amount of money and revenue that they make off of just the boxes
Okay.
in Yankee
Yeah.
Stadium pays for their salary
That's
on the
nuts.
team, which is crazy. That doesn't take into parking concessions, anything. Diehard fans. So I think it's one of those
Jersey
fan
sales.
bases
That's
that's just going to
nuts.
be forever
Yeah.
iconic. And I think Jeter's going to be one of those. Kept his nose clean. He's
Yeah.
been relatively out of the spotlight. So
Yeah.
all those reasons, I think he's a good
I mean, you think of
prospect.
people that wear that NY on their hat, they've never even watched a Yankees game.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
it is a very iconic type situation. Next one on my list is and like for different reasons, right? Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is on my list, but it's more so for flipping opportunity. I think he is going to
Makes
be one of
sense.
those guys that get traded this year, and he could end up in pinstripes in New
Yeah.
York. So who knows? But I think if you get a couple of Vladdy Dotties, you could, party up that,
I'm
man.
with you. I'm with you on that. La-di-da-di, we like to party. I went another obvious one here is Otani, and the reason why I've got Otani is because outside of Babe Ruth, I don't think there will be another player ever to do
That is modern day Babe Ruth.
both
Yeah.
sides of it. I mean, and not only do both sides of it, but to surpass 50-50,
Mhm.
50 home runs and 50 stolen bases, and when he comes back and starts pitching again,
Yeah.
and when he was pitching to pitch at such a high level, it's just unheard of.
Yeah.
Now, will he at one point just going to have to choose, right? And which direction does he go? Would probably
Mhm.
stay hitting, I would imagine. Longevity there, you could actually be a DH, and that's going to extend your career.
Yeah.
Pitching, you got Tommy John and all the issues that can come with that. But
Yeah.
for me, Otani is one of those guys. Now, listen, his values right now are extremely high.
Correct.
They're just coming off of a World Series. They're going to line up for potential another World Series because they're loading up their roster.
Yeah.
So, that may not be the right time to buy, but if you can find one on the low,
Yeah.
not a bad investment.
Hey, pitcher! Pitcher, 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 pitcher.
All right. And that's a good one because it leads me to my next one, which is Japanese players in general, right? So we saw what Otani has done in the World Classics,
Mhm.
and he's bringing over Yamamoto. He brought over to the Dodgers. Forgot the guy he just brought over, but it's another guy that was on his team. He brought him over too. So I think you're going to see like this influx of international sales and prices when it comes to supporting those guys from your country, right?
Yeah, and it never really caught on. Like so many baseball players are from like the Dominican and things like that.
Yeah.
The thing that's a little bit different, and I hope this doesn't come across the wrong way,
Yeah.
but Japan, they're like deep pockets.
Oh,
They're
for sure.
affluent business people over there and stuff like that are like they've got deep pockets to pay for.
And
these
traditionally,
cards.
Dominican Republic is the complete opposite.
Right.
So
they've got deep pockets to chase after these cards.
Yeah.
And, the traditions and things like that taken very seriously. So
Yeah.
I like that one. My last one, I'm actually going off script a little bit.
Okay.
I had Trout written down here only because I think his values are down a little
Yeah.
bit. I think it's a chance to go after him.
Okay.
But listen, I'm looking at things, and I'm not getting political in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But I look at the climate that we're in right now, and there is a very heavy emphasis on diversity,
Yeah.
inclusion, all those things.
Yeah.
I think Jackie Robinson
Yeah.
and the walls that he was able to break down, the
Yeah.
things that he was able to do. When we look back in 20 years, I mean, what he's done is not going to be forgotten, but that's going to be an opportunity to say, like, how groundbreaking and profound really was what he was able to do to break into a game that was dominated, especially at
Yeah.
the time during segregation
Mhm.
and all those things. So I'm going to say Jackie Robinson is going to be one of those players that I would want to add if I could get my hands on one to the vault.
I mean, that's a great one. Like I said, like you said, Jackie Robinson broke down the barrier that's been the biggest barrier in our country. You know what I mean, to date. So that is a good one.
And an amazing player.
Yep. And I'm gonna say I put that in. That's kind
That's
of
your
my vintage category.
Okay, I got you. You were thinking the same thing. We were wrong. We were lockstep.
All right. So my last one is J Dom and Dylan Cruz. Just looking at those next young studs, similar to like a Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, that we talked about in Michael Penix in football. I think they could be that next, superstars in baseball. So I'll throw those two in there.
There you go. You've heard it. Listen, that's 15 athletes. Mark it down. You're going to make a ton of money. Just go invest in them. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But listen, your opinions may differ. That's the beauty about this is everybody's got something a little bit different. Until the money's made, you can't prove whether you're right or wrong. So right now, we're all just speculating on these things. But it's just interesting to hear different perspectives and different reasonings why. So at the end of the day, do what you enjoy. Go after those players that you really firmly believe in. Make sure that you've got that parachute in case the bottom falls out at some point. That you're going to be okay sitting on whatever you've got.
Trey Lance.
Go for Trey Lance. Load up on your Daniel Jones. Listen, throw Kyler Murray's into the mix. Let's just go. Let's just
go for it. Yeah,
how many Josh Rosen cards are sitting out there? Somebody at some point paid 5 figures for a Josh Rosen National Treasures 101.
Or Mitch Trubisky.
The list goes on.
Sam Bradford. I mean, the list goes on and on. Wander Franco. Crazy money for Wander Franco.
So
list goes on.
Just know whatever you do with your funds, unless you just take it and put it in the bank, there's going to be risk involved. So just be willing to lose it all. That's what I always say. If you're not willing to lose it, don't go after it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So listen, this was a great 3-parter in my opinion. I think,
agree.
For the new collectors, it's going to give you a little bit of information. For those that have been around for a while, this is probably a lot of the repetitive things that you've heard, but we would also solicit your input into listen, where are we wrong?
Yeah.
Where are some things that we can be doing better? But we're going to start to shift gears a little bit here. So we're the Collector's Corner for a reason. We are not the sports card collector's corner. We're the Collector's Corner. So we're going to start to turn a corner here.
Yep.
We've got some really exciting things coming up. We're going to enter into 2 worlds that are unique to me because I'm not real familiar with them. But we're going to go to your specialties, which is whiskey.
Yep. And cigars.
I'm
excited about this one.
And so we're going to enter into that world of cigars. What makes a good cigar? I don't know the difference. They all look like, just whatever, the same thing to me.
They all taste like dirt and make you cough for like 3 hours.
Dirt, make you cough and your clothes stink. So I'm interested to be educated on that. When you talk about whiskey, it just looks like brown liquid to me. So,
that's it.
We'll learn through that. But some exciting stuff coming up. We're going to go down the avenue of some shoes. We're going to get into some artwork. So we're going to open up the world of collecting to everybody. And if it's not your cup of tea, stop by, hang out, and listen. You might learn something.
Yeah.
Right?
Because I know I do as well. So
every day. Listen, if you're not learning, you're not growing. So we appreciate you guys joining us for that part 3 series. Look out for the next episode where we've got something brand new coming at you. But as always, thanks for being at the Collector's Corner.
Until next time, peace.
Turn me up.